Hello and welcome to another episode of Practice Perfection. Tonight we continue what we began in the last episode of working on 16th note permutations on beat 1 on the bass drum, along with a simple rock and roll hi-hat groove or ride groove of 8th notes with a backbeat on the snare. But today we're going to work on the 6 2-note permutations. The first two, 1E, the first and the third, 1 and, the first and the fourth, 1 and The next one is the E and the and. The next one after that is the E and the both of the offbeats. And then finally, the last two, the and the So let's get this going. Here we go. So we're going to start at 60 beats per minute with each beat subdivided down into 16th notes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a ready, go. 1 E. We're going to do this 8 times. 7, 8. Now on to the first and third, which is basically We Will Rock You, but with a hi-hat. 1 and 2 and now on to the first and fourth. 1 E and a 2 E and a. Now, second and the third. So that's 1 E and. Now the E and the Sorry, that first one was off there. Finally, the last two. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and cover something that I probably should have beforehand, and that is just really quickly walk you through the coordination that's involved between the right hand, or your hi-hat hand anyway, or cymbal hand, and the bass drum for each of these 6 permutations. So if our hi-hat is just 1 E and a 2 E and a, the first key thing to realize is that we're playing the first and third of each beat's 16th notes. There's 4 16ths in each beat, 1 E and a. So we're playing really every other one on the hi-hat. And that's helpful because now we know where to place those bass drums. So for the first one, the first bass drum aligns with the first hit, and then the second bass drum is in between, and then the hi-hat. So we get 1 E and. And here it is again, 1 E and. Now the next one's a pretty easy one. I'm sure most of you watching this video will be able to play it already, and that's where you play the beat and the and. So it's at the same time as the hi-hat. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And as I alluded to earlier, this is the same groove more or less as what you would hear in We Will Rock You and many other songs, although there they just stomp and clap. Okay, the third one is bass drum along with a hi-hat, and then the hi-hat, and then a bass drum on the So we get together and then right bass. So 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a. The next one is a little funkier. We get 2 bass drums in the middle, the E and the and. So the hi-hat happens first, then a bass drum and a hi-hat, like so. 1 E and 2 and 1 E and 2 and right bass both. Right bass both. I'm sorry, my crash cymbal is finicky tonight. Okay, so now the next one, this is kind of a cool one. I remember when I first learned this one, it was pretty cool. I felt like I'd really achieved something. And that is a bass drum after each hi-hat. So hi-hat, bass drum, hi-hat, bass drum. And that sounds like this. 1 E and a 2 E and 1 E and a 2 E E, and right bass, snare. Right bass, snare. That's it. And then finally we have the last one, which has the and the So a hi-hat on the first hit, and then at the next hi-hat hit we have a bass drum, then finally an extra bass drum right after it. So it becomes 1 and 2 and right, both bass, right, both bass. So some of you won't have needed that explanation of all of these, but I wanted to throw that in there just in case you had tried going through the first round at 60 beats per minute and found it a little overwhelming. So this is a resource you can come back to and take a look at it. And then if you find the rest of this video too fast, then go back, slow down the video in the settings to like 50% or 75% and try it out. Or just come back to this part and try playing along with that explanation we just did. So on we go though now to 70 beats per minute. A 1, 2, ready, go. 1 E. So the first two. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now the eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7. On to the first and third. Here we go. Now on to the second and third. 1 E and. Now the E and Right bass, right bass. Now the last two. Right, both bass. And on we go to 80 beats per minute. A 1, 2, 3 E and a 4 E and a. Eighth note. And now the first and third. Second and third. Second and fourth. Right bass, right bass. Now the last two. Now on to 90. Starting with the first two. 1, 2, 1 E, go. Now the and. 1 and. Don't ignore this one, even though it's the simplest. Now the first and fourth. Second and third. Second and fourth. Now third and fourth. let's do one more tempo. 100 beats per minute. A 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... So that's an overview of how to practice two-note permutation bass drum hits along with the hi-hat and snare. And you'll notice that I kept the metronome on 16th note subdivisions the entire time, and is just such a great way to keep yourself honest. So if you have that feature on your metronome, then I definitely encourage you to use it at least some of the time, because it'll really show where you kind of push and pull on the beat. You know, I hear it all the time as I'm playing through these. I'm thinking, oh, I could really tighten that up, or oh, I gotta not be quite so lazy starting out. You know, sometimes I just sort of lope my way in and oh, okay, bar 3, I'm right on. So you know, we're always trying to get tighter on these. So these are really helpful. If you're wondering why to practice these as well as the stuff in the previous lesson and the stuff in the next upcoming lesson, well, it's because this is the basic vocabulary that we use to put together rock and funk and other grooves. And when you have all 15 of these down, it's going to give you a lot of possibilities. You're going to be able to combine, mix and match, create all kinds of things. And the biggest thing, most important thing to me, is that we're going to be able to play whatever rhythms we want within that vocabulary. You won't have to guess. You'll know that you can play them. So start slow, work your way up in smaller increments, go by 5 beats per minute instead of the 10 we did here. But just, you know, chart your progress, see where you can go with it, and always try to stay comfortable. Practice relax, practice perfection, feeling really at ease with it. And that will take you the furthest, the fastest. So I hope that this was a useful lesson to you guys. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to post them down in the comment section below. You can also contact me on my website, kitmills.com, and I'd be happy to respond to you there. And if this was a likable lesson to you, then go ahead and click the like button. And if you haven't already done so, I encourage you to subscribe to my channel, because that'll always be the easiest way to hear of upcoming videos and streams and all that sort of thing. So my name again is Kit Mills. Thanks again for joining me for this episode of Practice Perfection. And until next time, keep on drumming. See ya.